I'm Tiana, a woman who lost everything to lies, but found herself again through love, faith, and quiet strength. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about how peace became my greatest revenge, and how the ruins they left behind became my foundation for rebirth. 13 years ago, a day that looked ordinary broke my life clean in two. I'm Tiana Brooks, Black, mid-40s now, the oldest daughter who fixes what breaks. Back then I was coming home from a long shift at the Municipal Claims Office in Harbor Heights, a sleepy port town in the Magnolia State. Dusk smelled like wet concrete and sweet gum. All I wanted was to kick off my flats, warm yesterday's stew, and let some mindless TV fizz in the background. My sister, Sable Monroe, was supposed to swing by for her little boy, Nazir. Lately, she'd been running errands more and more and leaving him with me. I adored that child, but I was craving a quiet evening. My husband, Darius Cole, should have been stretched out on the sofa, pretending to watch the sports recap while scrolling his phone. The lock turned, and the house answered with nothing. Not the good kind of quiet either. This was a hollow, held-breath silence. The air felt wrong. No low murmur from the living room. No hint of dinner. Just stillness. Darius? My keys clinked on the entry table. Sable. Only my voice came back to me. The living room was tidy in a way that didn't belong to us. Magazines squared to the edge. Remotes in a perfect row. Darius could charm anybody, but tidy he was not. That's when I saw him, Nazir. 6 years old, brown skin like polished pecans, a tangle of soft curls, eyes too big for that small, serious face. He was curled in the big blue armchair we called Big Mama's seat, clutching a throw pillow like a life preserver. No tears. Just waiting, the way children do when they've learned grown-ups leave them holding questions. My heart did a hard stutter. I crouched in front of him. Hey, baby. Where's your mama? Where's Uncle Darius? Nazir's lower lip shook. He didn't answer. He just loosened one fist from the pillow and handed me a crumpled square of paper, warm from his palm. I knew before I opened it. Sable's handwriting used to look like confetti. Big, looping letters that acted like life was one long party. The words on this page were anything but. I'm doing this in a note because I can't get through it face to face. By the time you read this, Darius and I will be gone. We're in love, have been for a while. We're starting over somewhere we can finally be happy. Nazir can't come with us right now. It wouldn't be good for him. You're better with him anyway. Please don't try to find us. S. The floor seemed to tilt. 8 years of marriage folded like paper in my hands. My little sister, my chaos child, my responsibility, had taken a match to the last piece of trust between us and walked away with my husband. I stumbled to the kitchen and jabbed Darius's number. Straight to voicemail, his smooth, professional greeting suddenly felt like a smirk. Sable's phone? The same. Her breathy, giggling message told me to leave a note after the beep, like we were discussing lunch plans and not a betrayal. On the counter, under the fruit bowl, sat a thin stack of papers. A petition to dissolve our marriage from a courthouse I'd never stepped into, already signed in Darius's handsome, careless swoop. They hadn't slipped. They had planned. In my house. Around my table. Over my kindness. Nazir patted in, small feet silent on tile. He tugged my sleeve. Aunt T, he whispered. Mama and Uncle D went on a trip. The anger inside me buckled, and grief rushed in so fast it stole my breath. How does a mother leave her son like an extra suitcase? I lifted him, his little body light as laundry, and held on. To understand how deep Sable cut us, you have to know the lie she planted months earlier. It was the seed that let her vanish and pretend it was mercy. She had rolled at my driveway one hot afternoon in late spring, mascara smeared like rain, shaking so hard I thought she'd been in a wreck. It's Naz, she gasped as I opened her door. Inside, at my kitchen table, over untouched tea, she told me a story, with eyes gone glassy. The doctors found something. A blood thing. It's rare. It's terminal. T. The cup slid from my fingers and shattered. Sable kept talking, voice wobbling in all the right places. They said maybe 6 months. I can't watch my baby fade. I'm not strong enough.
Could you help me?
Just for a little while? I need space to breathe. What does a sister say to that? But yes. After that, Nazir's weekends at my place became weeks. Sable's thank yous were quick and glossy. She smelled like expensive perfume and late nights. Darius, God help me, was all support at first. Whatever your sister needs, we're family. Looking back, I can taste the bitterness. Every extra hour with Nazir was an extra hour they carved out for each other. The first hairline crack in her story came from my friend Joy, who called one evening while Naz dozed on my lap. Girl, you'll never guess who I saw cutting up at Riverfront Lounge. Your sister. Bright dress, loud laugh, drinks all around. Grief is heavy, sure. It doesn't usually buy a round of cocktails on a Wednesday. I tried to believe Sable was chasing normal for a night. But 3 weeks later, she was 3 hours late to pick up her son, then breezed in smelling like citrus and white wine. Relax, T. I lost track of time, she said, rolling her eyes like my worry was a hobby. That was the night I knew something uglier was moving under the surface, that this wasn't grief. It was a slow, deliberate exit. And then came the note, the empty house, the neat remotes, the sign petition. After I tucked Nazir into the guest room, nightlight throwing a small, brave halo on his sleeping face, I sat in the doorway and made a promise that felt heavier than my own bones. It's you and me now, I whispered. I'm not going anywhere. I didn't know how I'd pay for what might come. I didn't know how to mother a child the world had been told was dying. I only knew I would not fail him. In the weeks that followed, my home learned a new rhythm. A 6-year-old brings Legos, cartoon jingles, and sudden naps. Nazir moved like a boy wading through water. 20 minutes of play, then lips pale, eyes dull, back to the couch. Sable had left a foods he tolerates list. Plain white bread, strawberry jelly, bananas. Don't offer anything else, she'd snapped once. He'll throw it up. So I cut off crusts and sliced bananas and told myself this was care. But a voice in me, quiet, steady, stubborn, kept saying, this isn't right. Even sick kids sparkle. One afternoon at the park, Nazir giggled on the swing for 4 short minutes before sagging against me, asleep in seconds on the bench. I stared at the sunlit playground and felt that inner voice harden into decision. Sable said there was no point in a second opinion. Sable also said she wouldn't abandon her son. The next morning, I opened my laptop, pulled up a list of specialists, and started dialing. By dawn, I had a short list and a plan. I called Lakeside University Hospital and begged my way onto the schedule of Dr. Lila Benton, a pediatric hematologist with the kind of voice that could steady a storm. The copay made my throat tighten, but I moved savings I'd promised my future into the present. Nazir was my present. The hospital smelled like lemon cleaner and nerves. Nazir sat on my lap in the waiting room, tracing the outline of a cartoon line on a brochure while I tried to slow my breathing. I kept hearing Sable. Rare, terminal, 6 months. I kept hearing myself. Believe what you can prove. Dr. Benton listened to everything. Sable's diagnosis by whisper, the strict jelly and bread diet, the quick fatigue, the long naps. She didn't flinch, didn't rush. Then she examined Nazir. Warm hands on a small back, light in the ears and throat, fingers pressing gently along his neck and belly. She cracked a joke that made him smile for the first time all day. We'll run a full panel, she said finally. Blood work, iron indices, some vitamin levels. It'll give us a real map. Nazir squeezed my hand when the phlebotomist approached. Count with me, I whispered. 1, 2. By 3 it was already over. Brave boy. The hour between tests and results stretched like a rubber band. I read the same paragraph on a wall poster 5 times and couldn't tell you a word of it. When they called us back, Dr. Benton had the folder open and that deliberate calm still in place. Tiana, she began, I don't know where your sister heard what she told you, but Nazir does not have a terminal blood disease. In fact, he doesn't have a hematologic disorder at all. The chair caught me before the floor did. Relief hit so hard it was almost pain. I laughed and sobbed at once, the messy sound of a dam breaking. Dr. Benton waited, then turned the page. However, and this is serious, Nazir is profoundly undernourished. He's anemic. He has deficiencies across multiple vitamins and minerals. His growth markers are behind. This little one isn't dying of a rare syndrome. He's starving. The word landed like a gavel. Starving, not fate, not mystery. A choice. A pattern. Neglect hiding behind a story that made Sable the tragic heroine instead of the architect. I felt anger rise. Hot. Righteous, bright. But it moved aside for clarity. What do we do? I asked, gripping the edge of the desk. Dr. Benton slid a printed plan toward me. Supplements, labs to recheck, a referral to a pediatric nutritionist named Chefina Ward, who ran a clinic that taught caregivers how to rebuild bodies with food. You'll need patience. Think months, not days. Gentle exposure, nutrient density, consistency. And Tiana? She softened her voice. You've already done the bravest part. You question the story. On the drive home, Nazir dozed to the rhythm of the highway, cheeks slack, lashes long. The city skyline gave way to the low roofs of Harbor Heights, and something inside me shifted from what now? To watch me. My kitchen became command central. I cleared a shelf for broth jars and beans, greens and grains, fruit that smelled like sunshine. I watched late-night videos on how to coax flavor into vegetables, how to simmer stock until it tasted like a hug, how to make food look like play. Chef Ward's clinic gave me charts and courage, and when Nazir pushed a spoon away, I treated it like data, not defeat. We started small. A sip of chicken ginger broth. One bite of mashed sweet potato enriched with olive oil and a whisper of cinnamon. Half a scrambled egg with micro shreds of spinach, so fine they looked like confetti. He grimaced. I smiled. We tried again the next day. And the next. Fuel for superheroes, I told him, tapping the bowl. Every spoon is a power-up. He eyed me like I was selling magic beans, but magic, it turns out, is just science with patience. 2 sips became 3, then a quarter bowl, then a clean spoon clinking the bottom. The first time he finished a whole cup of broth, he sat a little taller without noticing. I noticed. We added sunlight. 10-minute walks to the end of the block, then to the park, then 1 full loop around the duck pond. When fatigue hit, we sat on the nearest bench and told stories about pretend ducks with secret lives. I packed snacks that were really strategies. Yogurt with crushed walnuts, apple slices dipped in peanut butter, tiny sliders on whole grain rolls. Joy came by on Saturdays and turned tasting into a game show. Will of flavor. Nazir laughed and forgot not to like things. At night, after he was asleep, I ran numbers and plans. I called an attorney about next steps, not for revenge, not yet, but for protection. I learned words I hadn't needed before. Guardianship, abandonment, kinship placement. The law, it seemed, didn't know what to do with women who left children behind like unpaid tabs. But it knew what to do with the people who stayed and did the work. One afternoon, weeks into the plan, Nazir ran from the porch to the mailbox without stopping. It was only 30 yards, but he didn't ask to be carried back. He panted, grinned, and said, "Again. Again." Dr. Benton's follow-up labs painted the same story our afternoons were telling. Iron rising, energy returning, a little boy's body remembering how to be a home. We celebrated with mango slices and a victory dance in socked feet on the kitchen tile. The house that had felt emptied now felt refilled, clatter and cartoons, and the clink of measuring cups. My anger at Sable cooled into a kind of fierce focus. Darius was a closed door. I didn't waste breath talking to wood. Every ounce of me bent toward the boy who had landed in my blue armchair clutching a pillow like a raft. One evening, sun sliding low over the neighborhood, Nazir watched me chop carrots. "Aunt T," he asked. When mamas go on trips, do they come back?" I set the knife down and wiped my hands. His eyes were steady, not accusing, just measuring the world. "Sometimes," I said. "Sometimes they don't. But the people who love you, the real kind, they stay." He thought about that for a moment. "You stay." "Yeah, I said, voice thickening. I stay. We ate carrot coins that night like they were treasure. I didn't know it then, but that simple vow would grow roots deep enough to carry us through years I couldn't yet see. School forums and science fairs, setbacks and spurts, laughter so bright it rinsed the walls. It started here, with broth and bedtimes and the quiet knowledge that the truth, once named, can't be untold. Years slipped forward like pages turning themselves. By the time Nazir turned 8, our tiny home in Harbor Heights pulsed with the kind of laughter that bounces off walls and lingers in the corners. The pale, fragile boy who had once fallen asleep on park benches now outran me up the hill behind the library. His cheeks were full, his skin the warm bronze of health, his curiosity endless. One morning, while I packed his lunch, brown rice, jerk chicken bites, and mango chunks, he said it like it was nothing. "Mom, can I get the blue sneakers this time?" The word hit me mid-step. Mom. I turned slowly. "What did you say, baby?" He looked up, unbothered. Mom. Then, like a scientist proving a theory, he said it again, smiling this time. "You're my mom now, right?" I swallowed hard, the kind of hard that hurts. If that's what you want to call me, I'd be honored. From that day on, I was Mom. Auntie was gone like an old nickname. That same year, I walked into the Magnolia County Family Court with my stomach in knots and a folder full of proof. The system had never called Sable to account. There was no custody hearing, no formal guardianship, just a trail of silence she left behind. I filed a motion for permanent custody, knowing full well it would stir whatever ashes remained of her life with Darius. The judge, a woman named Evelyn Jacobs, stern but fair, with locks pulled into a crown, leafed through the documents. "So," she said, eyes flicking up, "your sister abandoned the child, and you've been his sole caregiver for over 2 years?" "Yes, Your Honor." She nodded once, then turned to Nazir. "And how do you feel living with Miss Brooks?" Nazir swung his feet from the witness chair. "She makes good soup," he said solemnly. "And she stays." Even the bailiff laughed under his breath. That day, the judge's gavel came down like thunder and peace at the same time. My guardianship was official. Nazir was safe under my name. Every so often, I'd receive a postcard. No return address, no apology, just Sable's looping handwriting. "Hope the boy's okay. We're doing fine. Or worse. You should thank me. You always wanted a child." I never wrote back. The last letter came the year Nazir started middle school. It had a picture of palm trees on the front and smelled faintly of cheap perfume. I read it once, then fed it to the kitchen flame. Nazir never saw it. He didn't need to. By high school, Nazir had turned into a living refutation of every lie his mother told. He joined the debate team, volunteered at the community garden, and grew tall, taller than me by 14. His teachers called him disciplined. His friends called him old soul. Sometimes on quiet nights, he'd ask softly, "Do you ever think about her?" I'd answer honestly, "Not much. She made her choices. We made ours." Then he'd nod, satisfied, and go back to his biology notes. He said he wanted to study medicine, to fix what neglect breaks. One autumn afternoon, while running errands at a local produce market, I spotted a familiar figure across the stalls. A man buying peaches with a woman clinging to his arm. My breath caught before my mind did. Darius. His hair had thinned, his belly thickened, but arrogance aged slower than skin. The woman beside him was Sable, older, worn, her confidence now painted on like a mask. I froze, hidden behind a pyramid of oranges, heart hammering. Part of me wanted to walk away, protect the peace I'd built. But another part, the part that had carried Nazir through fevers and fear, whispered, "Stand your ground." I stepped forward. "Tiana?" Darius blinked, as if seeing a ghost. Then a slow smirk spread across his face. "Well, I'll be damned." Sable's jaw slackened, her voice thin. "You look different." "Healthy," I said flatly. "That's what love and good food do." They both stiffened. Sable tried for small talk. "You still living in that little house?" "Yes," I said. "The one you both emptied out, remember?" Her smile faltered. Darius chuckled, uncomfortable. It's been years. You still bitter? I stared him down. I'm not bitter. I'm full. They didn't know what to do with that. And then, like fate had impeccable timing, a familiar baritone called from behind me. Hey Mom, you ready? Nazir, grown now, 18, tall in a crisp college hoodie, confidence radiating from every line of him. He came up beside me, set an easy hand on my shoulder. Sorry it took so long. Professor wanted me to stay after class. Sable's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Is that? Yes, I said, letting my pride coat every syllable. This is Nazir. Darius looked him up and down, jaw tight. You made it. Nazir tilted his head, calm but cutting. Made it? I was never lost. I was left. Their faces drained of color. The noise of the market dimmed around us. For the first time in years, I felt no tremor, no ache, just certainty. Sable whispered. You remember me? Nazir met her eyes. I remember enough. He turned to me then, voice steady. You said we needed apples, right, Mom? I smiled. Yeah, baby. Let's go home. We walked away, leaving their ghosts among the fruit stalls. A month passed after that market encounter before the universe decided to twist the knife again. It was a quiet Saturday, laundry humming, gospel low on the radio, when fate came calling in the form of a supermarket aisle and two ghosts who hadn't learned humility. I was comparing olive oils when I heard it. Tiana? That you? I knew the voice before I turned, softened by time, but still sweet with condescension. Sable. And beside her, as always, Darius. They looked like time's parody of themselves, heavier, slower, the kind of couple that talked in past tense. Sable's hair, once a glossy chestnut, was now unevenly blonde. Darius wore a gold chain that probably cost more than his conscience. They smiled like we were old friends bumping into each other after church. Well, look who it is, Darius said, grin curling. The runaway sister turned saint. Saint? I asked. That's generous. You two must be short on sinners. Sable's laugh was thin, brittle. Oh, come on, T. It's been, what, 12, 13 years? You still holding grudges? I didn't bother answering. She pressed on. You should be grateful, you know. Raising Nazir must have given your life purpose. We left you a blessing. That word, blessing, snapped the restraint clean out of me. My voice stayed calm, but something sharp threaded through it. You left me a child you said was dying. A child you starved. That's not a blessing, Sable. That's survival work. Her eyes flickered, the first crack in her smirk. Oh, please. He was always frail. Frailty isn't starvation. I cut in. Dr. Benton proved that. Darius snorted, trying to redirect. Still single, T? Guess you missed your chance after I left. After you left, I repeated softly. Is that what you call desertion now? He looked at Sable, half laughing, half wincing. You always could twist words. Before I could reply, a shadow fell across the aisle. Nazir's voice, deeper now, steady, broke the tension. Mom, they don't have the almond milk brand you like. He appeared at my side, tall in a fitted black hoodie, shoulders squared, presence commanding without trying. His face carried the calm of someone who'd already won a battle no one else realized had started. Darius blinked. Wait, that's him. Nazir looked between them. Two strangers disguised as family. That's me. Sable stammered. You're so grown. We thought you, she trailed off, unable to say the word. Died. Nazir supplied quietly. No, I didn't. I lived. He let the silence stretch, then added, She made sure I did, nodding toward me. Sable's painted smile cracked, revealing something raw beneath. Tiana, you don't understand. Things were complicated. Complicated? Nazir interrupted. You lied about me being sick. You left me. You didn't even call. Darius stepped in, trying for control. Kid, watch your tone. I'm not a kid, Nazir said evenly. And I have a name. You gave up the right to use it when you both walked out. Every word landed with surgical precision. Sable's composure unraveled. Tiana, please, can't we talk privately? You know how things were. No, I said flatly. You two built your lives on excuses. We built ours on truth. Let's keep it that way. Darius's smirk wavered. You still think you're better than us? I looked him straight in the eye. No. I just became better than who I was when I loved you. The aisle was quiet enough to hear the hum of the freezer cases. Sable tried again, reaching for pity. We have a daughter, you know. She's 14. Cheerleader. Smart. Maybe she could meet Nazir someday. Nazir folded his arms. So, she can learn how to abandon people too? Her mouth fell open. Darius glared, but even he seemed unsure whose side he was supposed to be on. Something clicked in my head, the timeline, the dates, the way she looked guilty at the market when she mentioned that girl. A quiet realization sharpened my tone. You had her right after you left, didn't you? I asked. Sable froze. Darius puffed up. Yeah, what about it? Just interesting math, I said, considering how many men she was seeing that year. His grin faltered. What? Oh, Darius, I said lightly. You think you were the only one? I hired a private investigator after you two disappeared. Wanted to know who I was dealing with. Turns out your soulmate was busy collecting dinner tabs and affection from half of Harbor Heights while you were working double shifts. He turned to Sable, disbelief crawling up his face. Is she lying? She went pale. She's twisting things. No, I said quietly. I don't twist things. I document them. Darius's hands balled into fists. You played me? Sable sputtered. We were struggling, You used me, he said, voice breaking for the first time. You used everyone. I stood back, silent, as their 15-year alliance cracked open in front of the canned goods. It wasn't vengeance, not exactly. It was revelation. Finally, I said, you can always test your daughter's DNA if you're curious. But you might not like what you find. Sable's face drained of all color. Darius stared at her for a long moment, then muttered, I'm done. He turned and walked out, leaving her standing there like a statue too proud to crumble. I didn't gloat. I just exhaled the air I'd been holding for 13 years. Nazir touched my shoulder. You okay? I nodded. Better than okay. We left our cart behind and walked out hand in hand into the bright afternoon sun. 2 weeks after that supermarket showdown, the past began eating itself. I didn't call anyone. Didn't need to. Word in Harbor Heights travels faster than a siren. By the end of the month, Joy called, half whispering through laughter. Girl, your sister's world is on fire. According to her, Darius had followed through. He'd moved out the same night, lawyered up, and demanded a DNA test for the teenage daughter Sable swore was his. The results came back exactly as I'd suspected. She wasn't his. The divorce was brutal. Darius sued for fraud and emotional damages, waiving years of receipts and my sworn statement that Sable had faked a child's illness and deserted him. The judge didn't need long. He walked away with their house, their savings, and what little dignity he had left. She was left with nothing but a tarnished name and an eviction notice. Sable tried to spin her story online, posts about betrayal, about being misunderstood. But Harbor Heights has a long memory and a short tolerance for liars. Her friends stopped returning calls. Her job at a real estate firm dissolved quietly. The same charm she once weaponized now rang hollow. I blocked her number and any new accounts she tried to use. There was nothing left to say. Nazir, and I kept moving forward. He finished college with honors, not because I pushed him, but because he pushed himself. His senior project, on childhood nutrition in underserved Black communities, won an award that came with a research grant. He used it to start a small nonprofit called Second Table, helping single parents learn how to cook affordable, healthy meals. He said it was his way of giving back what soup once gave him. When he got accepted into medical school, I cried the way only a mother can, silent at first, then shaking. On his 25th birthday, he insisted we celebrate properly. No takeout this year, Mom, he said. Real tablecloth, real champagne. We went to a downtown restaurant with white linen and soft jazz. The waiter poured sparkling wine, and Nazir raised his glass. "To the woman who saved my life before I even knew what life was," he said. I laughed through tears. "And to the man who taught me that love isn't blood, it's consistency." We clinked glasses. Around us, the world moved on. Cutlery, laughter, strangers celebrating their own milestones. But for me, time slowed. The betrayal, the years of struggle, the broken trust, all of it had turned into something unshakably whole. Months later, an envelope appeared in my mailbox with no return address. I didn't have to guess. The handwriting, though shakier, was still Sable's. "Tiana, I saw a news segment about Nazir's nonprofit. He looks strong. You did right by him. I wish I had been half the woman you were. S." I read it once, then tucked it between Nazir's kindergarten drawing and his college acceptance letter. Proof that some stories don't need revenge to end. They just need truth to last longer than lies. Nazir and I still live in that same little house with its chipped porch rail and herb garden that smells like time and redemption. He visits every weekend, bringing groceries and gossip from the hospital. Sometimes, over tea, he jokes, "You know, Mom, we should write a book. How to survive family drama and still make dinner on time." I laugh every time. Maybe one day. But until then, I just keep telling our story. To anyone who listens, to anyone who needs reminding that being left behind doesn't mean being defeated. Sometimes it means being chosen for purpose, for healing, for love that stays. And that's how a story that began with betrayal ended with rebirth. Sable's lies couldn't outlast the truth. Darius's arrogance couldn't outshine the quiet power of a mother's love. What they abandoned became everything they could never build, a home anchored in patience, healing, and second chances. Nazir didn't just survive, he thrived.
And Tiana?
She proved that sometimes revenge doesn't come from payback, it comes from peace. If this story touched you, show some love, like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep telling powerful stories of justice, redemption, and poetic payback, where every twist reminds us that strength often grows from the ruins. Stay tuned for the next tale, because in this world, karma always keeps the receipts.